Get ready, fighters! A Rome himself production is coming your way!
What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Rome himself, and I need you to not avert your eyes. What you are seeing on the screen is as real as it gets. This is exclusive Ken Masters footage from Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Yeah, you heard it right, baby. Shout outs to SNK for blessing us with an earlier build of the new DLC to get our hands on Street Fighter Zone Ken Masters, who will be making his way very shortly to the game, depending on the time of the upload of this video. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge honor from SNK. It means a lot for them to reach out to me and have me try out this character and, you know, be able to show some footage of Ken Masters before he will be available later on. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down Ken's normals, his special moves, what I think are his pros and cons before giving an overall, general sentiment of how I'm feeling about Ken right now as of playing him. Before we jump into the video proper, you already know what it is. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel as well, and comment if you're interested in playing Ken when he comes out. But without further ado, let's hop in. Coming from Street Fighter, which is primarily a 6-button game, and being thrusted into Fatal Fury, which is a 4-button game, 5 if you count the rev, he has an extra set of normals generally in the way of command normals. So you have your typical A, B, C, D, your light punch, light kick, heavy punch, heavy kick. But Ken has a forward heavy punch. He has a diagonal down heavy kick. He has a forward light kick. He has essentially extra normals that acts like that 6 button. So for instance, in the context of Street Fighter, his crouching medium kick in Fatal Fury is his crouching heavy kick, right? It's his crouching D, if you will. But if you want to do his crouching heavy kick from Street Fighter, which is his sweep, in this game, it's diagonal down heavy kick. So giving you access to more normals, obviously making him feel a little more true to how he would in his traditional game, which I think is great. More command normals, it means more flexibility, obviously, with Ken. As you can see his normals here on display, but yeah, having that additional set of normals is gonna go a long way for him. And it is in those additional normals where he has 2 target combos as well. His regular heavy punch is the one where you see he doesn't draw his arm too far forward. It's just more of like a thrusting uppercut. I believe that might be one of his close normals in Street Fighter. But if you press that and you press back heavy punch again, you get a target combo similar to the one he had in Third Strike that launches, and you're able to special cancel it. If you press heavy kick with Ken 3 times in a row, he has a target combo as well. It's a 3-hitting kick. But if you just cancel the second hit, you can actually do that into a special move. So you can do the first 2 kicks into a special move, or all 3 kicks for a guaranteed knockdown of the target combo. So again, make him feel very Street Fighter-like, having his own target combos into this game, which also I think is good for beginners, as it gives them an easier routing to go for combos. So that's the bulk of his normals. Let's jump into his special moves. So Ken in this game is based off Street Fighter 6. I'm sure that was very apparent from, once you see the first photo of him of the DLC. Obviously his costume in this game is based off Street Fighter, and from what we've seen, Street Fighter 6, sorry, and from what we've seen in the trailer with Terry Bogard, it looks like the story takes place around that time. So with that being said, all of the moves that Ken has prevalent in Street Fighter 6 are the special moves he has here. So Hadouken, it's done the same motion as always, quarter circle, forward, and punch. Ken's Hadouken always is not really the best, right? He always usually has a fireball that is decent enough, right? Good for zoning. It's great for some strings. In this game in particular, crouch and heavy kick into fireball is real. You have to just defend, you have to hyper defend to punish that one. There's no real gap in between that, but it makes it really good. And of course the EX version here, it's a 2-hitter, but it keeps them standing. And I do think that's good in the context of Ken, because keeping them standing, it gives you more time to rev excel into some of his other moves. So it makes his combo routes easier to do, which is like a theme you're gonna probably hear me say a lot when it comes to Ken Masters in this video. So outside of Fireball, we have the patented Shoryuken, Ken's most iconic move. Flaming uppercut, done the traditional way, of course. And yes, his heavy punch uppercut is a breakable move. So that's going to be your primary breakable, comboable move that you want to do, like most characters have in Fatal Fury, which means if you break the DP, you shorten the animation of it, so Ken's closest to the ground, enabling for an additional attack. What also makes his DP good is that he can get it off of 2 light normals, which is like a privilege in Fatal Fury. Characters that can combo into their uppercut from 2 light normals usually means they can extend their combos and even go into EX moves. So that's going to be huge for Ken, of course. And the light punch Shoryuken is the It's invincible, right? It's just like the other ones. The heavy Shoryuken is more of a anti-air that you want to go for. Not necessarily a wake-up tool, but more of an anti-air. And of course, abusing the breakable -2 kind of scenario, you can trick out some people with mashing Shoryuken. Tatsumaki Senpu Gyaku. I'm pretty sure I butchered that, but Tornado Kick is the move. Ken's other most iconic attack. Obviously, another move in this game that is breakable for Ken. The difference for the Tatsu in this game is the heavy version that's breakable, and the heavy version doesn't have a hit animation. He just kind of winds up a little bit, but then he stops himself short. I've been using it for feints, most likely for like fake throws, I should say, most likely, where I will do a string into fake Tatsu and then go for a throw or go for like a jab. But honestly, outside of that application, the EX version is the one that you're going to be looking to break the most, because the EX version of the Tatsu launches the opponent a bit more, right? It puts them high in the air. That's the one you're going to want to break because it sends them high, but it sends Ken back to the ground, so he has more time to convert into his other special moves. But outside of that, light kick Tatsu, very good for light confirms. It's actually one of his better light confirms, and a combo that you will see maybe right now or maybe later on in this video, depending on the editing, is how Ken can do light kick Tatsu, and once he gets that bounce, he has enough time to go into a heavy uppercut or even EX uppercut. Now we're getting to Street Fighter 6 moves. You have the Jinrai kicks. So Jinrai kicks are just like they are in 6. He has the initial startup, which is quarter circle forward and light kick or heavy kick, and then you have the different variations. So the Jinrai low kick is forward and light kick. So you're going to do quarter circle forward kick and then forward and light kick. For the overhead variant, it's going to be back and heavy kick. So it's quarter circle forward kick and then back and heavy kick. And then for the high kick that knocks them away, that is forward and heavy kick. So that's how they were able to get 3 different moves within only 2 normals instead of having 3 kicks for it. So again, a very clever way of SNK to make usage of Ken's moves. But Jinrai works just like it did in 6. The low Jinrai will kick them low always, the medium will hit overhead, and of course the heavy is a knockdown. Now what's cool about Jinrai is that the light kick variant, the low, is a true string. Off the light kick version, it is a true string indeed, meaning that like you can't really interrupt it. You can hyper defense, you're gonna have to use system mechanics for that, but in terms of the gap, you won't be able to get through. And of course, that is also a comboable tool for Ken off lights, so that's a good way to go for. The medium kick, the back heavy kick version, which is the overhead, that's the one that you can interrupt with a rev blow or an uppercut because of the slow startup on the jab. But keep in mind that the heavy kick version is while you can interrupt it with like a jab, rev blows will lose to it. It's not wise to mash rev blow through Jinrai kicks. It's definitely something that you want to be on the lookout for at all times. We have the run step. So run step is done by quarter circle back and punch, and Ken has a multitude of options out of this one. The first option is if you press run step and heavy kick, you get just a straight dashing kick that Ken will do. I believe it leaves you at -5, but it's a great tool to just obviously close the distance. You want to go lock them down, kick them from afar. Depending on the range too, is going to be hard to punish, of course, but you have that variant. If you do the run step and press down and kick, you get his overhead. So it's an overhead kick, it will hit overhead. And again, another move that is -5, but it adds that variable mix between the overhead, between the mid. Rage run forward heavy kick, you get his Tatsu. So the flaming Tatsu clears the screen on counter hit, gives you huge potential. You can actually go into heavy punch off of it here. So it's definitely something to look out for when you can try to see if your opponent is mashing from full screen. Sneak in that run, get the heavy Tatsu, and keep things going. Doing step run and forward punch, you will get the Shoryuken, which goes really far. Incredible range on that. Again, good at just catching people from not being as focused on where you are in the screen and maybe pressing a button or two in between. So that's another great option to use. Of course, it does leave you the most minus out of all of these moves here, so you got to really pick your parts with this one. Ken also has Dragon Lash out of this run, which is equally as strong, but I do think the Tatsu might be a little stronger. You can get a counter hit confirm off of it as well, and it does leave you at about the same distance, but I do believe the Tatsu might be stronger in this case. And speaking of Dragon Lash, executing an uppercut motion and kick will give you one of Ken's most popular Street Fighter 6 attacks, whether you played him or was fighting against him, because Dragon Lash is just as good in this game. The light kick version of Dragon Lash is just a nice little annoying move right there. It hits relatively high, It is -5, of course, on block, but you know, if you get a hit, you're +1 on it. Like I said, it hits kind of high, so they're gonna have to high evade or uppercut it. It can snipe out some lows, and of course, the counter hit leaves you at a bigger advantage. But the heavy kick version, that's the one that is diabolical. The heavy kick version is a +1 on a block, and if you throw it out from full screen and you catch your opponent lacking, again, that is big repercussions, huge damage off the counter hit potential that Ken gets with this. And again, just another tool. It's going to be really good to see when people are in overheat, right? Because Dragon Lash is such a good move for Ken in Street Fighter 6 when people are in burnout. And I'm wondering how that's going to translate over more in this game when people are in overheat and you're trying to break down that guard to get the guard crush. Will Dragon Lash be that good of a move? Right now, it seems like it will be. Now let's take a look at Ken's supers, starting off first with his most iconic super, Shoryu Reppa, which is done with quarter circle forward and punches ×2. This move is as iconic as it gets and is definitely Ken's primary super in this game. You can combo it off of many things, including light normals, which means it's fast enough for that, but also it has invincibility. So it's the super you want to go for when you're knocked down, when you're on a defensive. You just wake up with it, like always, right? Ken's secondary super is Shippu Jinryu Kyaku. I am butchering that again, but you know what it is. It is more or less Super R3 from Third Strike, and it is done the same way. Double quarter circle forward and kicks. And this super here does more damage than the Shoryu Reppa, so it's a super that you want to go for more in combos. However, with this one, the combo timing is a bit more strict. Yes, you can do it off lights. Some juggles might be too low for you to do it, whereas Shoryu Reppa would catch, so that has more utility, plus obviously the iframes. But if you can land this super as frequently as possible, this one does more damage, so of course it is the ideal one for that situation. And lastly, Ken's level 3 super, his hidden gear, which has a cool Easter egg. As you can see, it hits like the Street Fighter 4 focus attack. You can even see the ink block aesthetic from Street Fighter 4 built in with that, so another cool throwback there from SNK to put in this game. But yeah, this is the hidden gear. This is going to refund you back all of your rev meter when you connect it, and it's just as hype as it looked in the trailer that we initially saw. And with that is all of Ken's basics, from his normals, specials, and supers. So let's see where I think his pros and cons are and where he stands as a character. Starting with pros, I think this one is fairly simple, but the extra set of normals I think is huge for Ken. Often we say that characters don't have many options, right? Or they may be limited because of the fact that it's a 4-button game and they don't have as many extra options. But Ken comes in here, an additional fierce attack, an additional crouch fierce, right? For anti-airing. He has the extra range on the sweep, which is good. Of course, the regular crouch and D, which serves as his footsie tool. But yeah, having that additional set of normals, again, it gives you a lot more wiggle room to play with as a character, and it makes Ken feel as expressive as he always is. Almost like a part 2 to that, right? I would also say the plus is having all these different special moves. Ken literally has every single option, right? Except for a command grab. But he's got a fireball, an uppercut. He has a forward advancing special. He has a move that has a built-in mix-up, right? The Jinrai kicks, which has a low, a medium, and an overhead. So Ken keeping you on your toes, keeping your opponent guessing and not knowing which move you're going to go for next, definitely aids him as much as it does. So remember that normal I talked about, which is a great footsie tool? That is Crouch D. This button is absolutely ridiculous. I think already it's going to be one of the best normals in this game. Talk about Billy Kane stance C levels, right? But maybe even better because of the startup. And while it doesn't have the range, it does have enough range to always hit an EX Fireball at max distance, which allows you to go into a Rev Excel EX Tatsu. So Ken is always going to get his most damaging outputs, even from far on, just because it's normal. And like, it low profiles quite a few things. It hits low enough. It is going to be crazy. I predict right now there'll be plenty of people raging on social media from this normal, and there's going to be other people abusing this normal, and they're going to feel really happy about it. We talked about Dragon Lash, but I want to specifically bring up Heavy Dragon Lash as one of Ken's better tools in this game, not just because of the plus frame advantage that it gives you, but take a look at the opponent's rev meter there on the bottom. Heavy Dragon Lash deals 10 points of damage to the rev gauge. That's massive. 10 blocked Dragon Slashes will ideally put them in overheat. Of course, that's not something that's going to happen all the time, but you're going to have so many strings leading up to that. And like I mentioned before, Dragon Lash leaving them plus, if you throw it out at various different ranges, maybe after certain strings or normals, or condition your opponent to block, you're going to get so much mileage out of this. So while it may do a decent amount while your opponent is overheated, I think pushing them to get overheat, it's really going to force opponents to have their system mechanics on deck, right? They're going to have to just defend and properly punish this. But even with just defending and punishing a Dragon Lash, it's also going to force them to spend more resources, right? Because it costs bar to guard cancel from the just defend. But yeah, I mean, 10 points of damage, that's huge for a move that still leaves Ken plus, so it still makes it his turn. Ken also has an amazing universal low dodge, right? I didn't even bring this up before, but his low dodge, he has a third strike animation where he does a little hot punch, and that works so much for him. Not only does it have great range, he can obviously link off of it too, off a counter hit like most characters can do, but it puts him airborne. So if Ken gets hit out of it, he just does the flip back. He won't be able to get comboed. Like some other characters having a lot of startup on their overheads, they'll get comboed, right? Or if it keeps them grounded, like Rock in particular, they have to hold the whole amount of damage. But for Ken, again, it leaves him airborne, huge range, and he can link off a counter hit. Definitely looking like one of the better overheads in the game. Now this is where he gets really good in Fatal Fury, I say, is the fact that he can get his best EX moves off of light confirms. Now, you know, in the high level meta, that is huge. Characters that can go into uppercut from 2 light normals is big, but also the other box to check is, can you do EX moves off lights? And Ken can go into EX moves off lights, but like I mentioned before, you could just do light kick into uppercut, into EXDP, into EX Tatsu, any type of extension that you desire. So Ken is going to be able to get his best damage off no matter where he is, whether it's a jump in, whether it's a low, whether it's a counter hit from anything. Ken's going to be able to get that. And again, having access to big damage, having access to your tools off EXs is massive. And it doesn't even stop there, right? EX moves are going to get even better, because I'm sure you've seen it in Ken's trailer, but Ken has the luxury of being able to cancel his EX moves into super. Now, I can't confirm, I'm not sure if that's a Ken only thing or if that's a whole new system mechanic for, maybe there's a new update and maybe that's a whole new system mechanic everybody's getting, but for now it looks like that's exclusive to Ken, and it makes sense, right? Because in Street Fighter 6 you can cancel EX moves into level 3, you can cancel uppercuts in general in older games, right? Super canceling was huge in Street Fighter, so Ken bringing that over to this game is going to be big for him. So yes, while Ken is looking very strong and easy to play right now, there is a few things I noticed about him that are considered cons. It's a very small list, and I'm sure there might be some more the more I'm able to get into the character and figure things out with him. But I did notice off rip that Ken doesn't have a traditional feint combo. So in Fatal Fury, you can do, for the most part, for most characters, they can do heavy normal into feint into another heavy normal, right? It might be a close heavy kick into crouch heavy punch. Some characters get double heavy punch depending on the frame data, but Ken doesn't really have that. The only feint Ken has in this game is the fireball feint, which is great on paper, and it will be something that'll help out in his mix-up tools, but it's not fast enough to where he's able to get, like, you know, heavy punch into feint into crouch heavy or close heavy. So he loses that traditional Fatal Fury combo, but again, I think that's what the target combos were made for, was to make it easier for the Street Fighter players so they don't necessarily have to do that feint combo coming in. In addition to that, Ken's mobility is kind of weak. Now, I talked about how he has all these moves that can go full screen. He's got like the Genrai kicks, obviously, the Dragon Lash, and the run and all that stuff, but there's a startup on those moves, but just his general mobility. Ken is slower than he feels in Street Fighter. His short hop doesn't go as far. He doesn't have the fastest walk speed, so he's gonna be taking his time, and I think this can hurt him in matchups where he is at a health deficit and he's fighting a character possibly like Kine or Billy, who's great at zoning and keeping away. I think when it comes to that, Ken's gonna have to rely on, you know, walk up fireball and hope that can help him out. But yeah, his mobility is not the best. I mean, he's getting older. I feel that. He's a little older in age, but he's definitely taking his time walking around here. And lastly, this con is more dependent on the player and how clean their execution is, but I talked about how Ken has a lot of moves and a lot of normals that could hurt players who are a bit sloppy with their inputs. Because having access to all these moves means that some moves might overlap. Some normals that you desire, you might not get. You know, for instance, someone might jump and you want his anti-air crouch normal, which is diagonal down and heavy punch, but you accidentally get regular crouch and heavy punch. So you'll lose to the jumping. And I think if your execution isn't the best, it's good to practice cleaning that up, cleaning up inputs for specials and everything with Ken. because again, the buffer system in Fatal Fury is bigger than most other games. So you're gonna have that lingering effect. So while this is a con that is mostly dependent on the person, it's still very much a con, and I can see players dropping games because they got the wrong normal, or they wanted a certain special move and got the other special move instead. So after learning the basics and a few combos, I think my overall sentiment on Ken is that SNK 100% cooked with this character. They understood the assignment when it comes to Ken, whether it's his stylish combos, his flair, the ease of access to use him, the flame effects, everything on display is all Ken in his truest form. Even mashing out combos on some of the CPU controlled opponents really just makes you want to dive into the character even more. Where I felt like Andy was a little bit more stoic, right, and harder to approach for maybe some newer players, I feel like Ken is going to be that nice like entry level, right? He's gonna feel so sleek to play that if you're someone who's new trying out the game, or a veteran, or someone just coming back to Fatal Fury in general, you're gonna be able to jump in with him easily and have so much fun playing him. And speaking of new players, this is the best time to bring it up, but at the time, SNK is running a sale on Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. It is 40% off. You heard that correctly. 40%. That's damn near half of the price of the game. 40%, I believe that's 35 USD for those in the States like myself. But if you're anywhere around the world, that is a massive sale. 40% off, and you can get not only the base game, which has amazing characters, but the Season 1 DLC, which right now Andy Bogart is out. Ken Masters will be out shortly, and of course you have all the other characters, Joe, Chun-Li, and Mr. Big. So again, that is a massive sale. Definitely take advantage of it. Go buy it on any platform you can. If you have any friends that you want to play this game and they don't have the game, let them know about the sale or get it for them, because again, 40% off is big and it only lasts a limited time, so you want to make sure you get that in ASAP. Once again, special shout outs to SNK for giving us early access to try out Ken Masters for your view and pleasure, and I'm looking for the official release. I'll definitely be there at EVO playing Ken. I hope to see you guys there too, because EVO will have Ken in attendance. We'll be able to mash some buttons, hit some shoryukens with each other, and get ready for his official release. Let me know in the comment section below if you like this video, if you like Ken Masters, if you're excited for Fatal Fury, if you're excited for the sale, EVO, anything regarding the game. Let me know down there below, and I'll see y'all next time.